we are super excited to have this location. Huge thanks to Jessie's Grove and the winery for hosting their hives. They're letting us have this educational apiary for our members. So this is kind of our introductory field day. We'll probably maybe do another one of these in the fall, we'll see. But otherwise, the board members are going to be taking turns opening up the hives 2 or 3 times a month. And the idea is that if you're a member, that's a member benefit. So you're able to come out, and we need the extra pair of hands for sure. So we'd love for you to come out as many times with us as you can. So it's also great education because you're able to compare, look at these hives, and then go home, and when you look at your own hives and inspect, you're able to compare and kind of see, oh, what am I seeing at my hives versus what's going on in the apiary? And it raises your learning curve big time. So.
We've discovered this new one. The plastic's almost completely clear. It's got a lid with a rubber seal, so once it's on, it's sealed. You can shake it around, and it doesn't spill out. But you can see the difference. It's a lot easier to count the mites when it's clear, when a hazy one like these. But you can make them even out of solo cups and stuff like that. But either alcohol, Dawn mixture water.
And this
Actually,
is alcohol.
That's alcohol. Mine's actually palm olive. It does the same thing. 3 or 5 tablespoons in a quart of water or half a gallon of water. So, and then that's our top feeder. This is what they call a top feeder. I don't know how full it was, but it's only an inch or less.
You ready to take it off?
You want to take it off?
Okay. Yeah. Well, because we have to get to the. There you go.
Is that 2 to 1 or 1 to 1?
That's probably 1 to 1. I didn't put that in there, but it's.
It's 1 to 1. Yeah.
So a lot of these inner covers have notches right here, which bees can go in and out of. And we've discovered that these top feeders can be a problem if the bees can get up in the wrong place. So we've covered the notch.
You'll see that on each of the hives too.
Yeah.
On the telescoping lid like that one, they can get into it kind of. You have to push it back and to close that entrance off or tape it off.
Do you want your bees to just go into one place? I mean, because mine kind of like are all getting into cracks
I
and
try
all
to
that.
keep mine going all in one entrance. Yeah. I don't like them. I'm scared they'll start robbing if they find an entrance into the feeder down the back.
Multiple entrances.
We all have different things. I like to put this way because the bees can find home.
Well, we just had an instance with this top feeder was on, and the gentleman had the inner cover in there. He left that hole open, and what they were doing, the bees were going in and falling down into there. And he drowned about 60,000, 70,000 bees. Lost the whole hive.
In days.
And within days, because he had just checked it 3 or 4 days earlier. So with those inner covers, you definitely have them taped off, or at the very least flipped the right way, so that if they go in that inner cover entrance, they're going into the hive, not into the feeder.
Okay, now this is kind of what personally I expect to see here. A fair number of bees in the middle. They're starting to pull the wax out in the middle, but not much going on here. You see, these are all just empty.
What's that mean, pull the wax out?
Okay, so they have to build cells to be able to use this. And my guess is that in the middle here, we're going to see some cells being built out.
They build out the honeycomb.
Okay, now you see, I'm going to turn this around.
Is it coming towards us?
Well, you can see it on both. Are you guys okay? See where that white wax is being pulled away from the yellow? The yellow is what we put in there on the foundation. But the white is what they're building.
So there you go.
See, it's all covered with bees. And they can't really use it yet because it's not quite built out. So the likelihood of the queen being up in this top box is really remote, in my opinion.
If they came from the outside, we'd have problems with robbing.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
how do they get around? How do they get in there?
So they go up into the screen. And then
Okay, now.
down to the floor.
These are oxalic acid pads that Bill and Cherie put on when they brought the bees over here. This is a swarm, and we don't really know if it had been medicated before. This thing right here was a pollen patty. They've taken a lot of pollen. I personally am really kind of surprised. Closer and look in, you can see
Just avoid the front. Yeah, the
these
front and front.
edge
Yeah. Come on, lift that.
frames
There you go.
are still pretty much just foundation. A little bit of white, that's easy to see on the black print. A little bit of white wax happening there. I'm just real quick looking for the queen. I don't expect to see her way out here at the edge. And then sure, you kind of wanted to just go right for the,
Just go right to the middle. Yeah, because they'll get to do an inspection on the other hives when they're in their groups. But if we're able to get to the middle and just make sure the frame doesn't have the queen, and then you guys can all help look for her on the frame that we choose for the wash. There is a marked queen in this hive. Yeah.
Did she come with the swarm?
No, yes she did, and we marked her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a swarm.
So if you find a frame that doesn't have the queen on it that you want to use, you want to set that one aside so she doesn't somehow like make it over there.
Right.
okay.
So that way because she can move pretty fast, especially when you
So I would be okay to use this one for the whitewash. What do you
Okay.
think?
So
Double
I
check.
usually put the end one on its end, and then it gives you a whole room for manipulation.
You think that'll give us enough bees and no queen?
Probably the next.
Okay.
Do we have the bin ready and everything?
I'm
I
getting it
think
ready.
so.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Bill. See how she's lifting it up very slowly and just straight up. She's trying not to scrape the bees as she lifts.
Now there's lots of bees there.
For a green dot or oddly shaped queen.
Okay, and this, so you know too, there's some drone cells kind of down at the bottom of this. You can tell that they're.
Careful, don't get them on Judy. There you go. There you go. And just double check for the queen. So
So,
right now, Bill is
We're going to let a lot of the workers fly away and let the nurse bees stay in. Because the nurse bees will have a higher rate of mites on them. And this bin has got rounded corners, you notice. There's no sharp corners. So that the cup will scoop nicely into one corner. And if somebody wants to grab that, so I'm going to shake these down, roll these down to one side, and get a cup, close it up. I'm going to dump these back in here.
And Sheree, you don't want us to keep looking for the queen. You want to do that in the other colonies?
And we're just going to swirl this around.
No.
For a couple minutes.
Oh, nice.
There's two. Okay, we got two. I'm going to shake a little bit longer.
5 or 6, right? A lot of people, you really don't want more than 2 when you have half a cup of bees, or I'm sorry, more than 6, but a lot of people use the threshold of 2. So right now we have those oxalic sponges in them. Those are to bleach the frame. We're gonna see if there's any signs of disease, and then we're gonna write some notes on what we did. So, but our main goal is really just to go in and actually check on the hive, see how the colony is doing, see if we see brood in all forms, and see if we can spot the queen too to top this off. Oh, look, these guys really ate their syrup up. And what I'm doing is, as I come up to the hive and I'm smoking, I'm also looking to see what the bees are doing.
Sherry, on the syrup, do you put any of that Hive Alive or anything there to
I
keep it
do.
from fermenting?
So I use the Apis Biologics powder, and then I also put in a little tiny bit of bleach just to help it stay like from getting moldy. And you remember, bleach won't hurt the bees. It's just like chlorine in a pool. So.
Where do you put that?
What?
Where do you?
Oh, I put it in the sugar syrup. And it just helps it last a little longer so it doesn't ferment and it doesn't grow stuff in it. So I'm looking on the inner cover to see if the queen's there. Does somebody want to hold this for me? This is the pollen patty. I usually like to make space. So usually I'll take the second frame in, but because they're working on that, this one is still pretty empty. So I'm actually, we're gonna take out this one usually. Come here, guys. Let's put you over here. I'm going to take this one out very carefully. Okay, someone want to hold this frame for me?
When you're putting these in and out, does it really matter which way you put them back in if
It
you
does.
forget which way they
You
were?
want to put them exactly back in unless you have a reason to change it.
And you don't change the locations either?
No.
So like
not
you
in-
have one that they're doing nothing, you don't move it further in maybe?
No, especially
Okay.
if it has brood on it. Or
Okay.
if it all depends on what I'm trying to accomplish or what I see in the hive. So
My
yeah.
hives seem different because some it seems like
Someone else want to hold this
there's
one?
a lot
for
more
me?
action going on the sides. And sometimes
Got it?
they're more all the one side of the hive than in the middle of it.
Well, so you want to keep all the frames in the same order unless
Okay.
you have a reason to move something. And usually if you're moving something, it has to do with building out the frame.
Okay.
So if you want to build out the frame to like on the ends here, we want to move them in, we could do that. But your brood frames are always going to be in the middle in the same order. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to move the brood frames around because if you do, what's happening is you're changing, all the nurse bees are in one spot and you're moving them around, which is changing the heat.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that. You want them to all be in the same order. Because I'm going to distract them and I'm going to give them a little puff of smoke. But I just want to do it so it just barely touches them. Because if I smoke up here, it's not going to do any good, right? I want the smoke to touch them, but I'm also not blasting them with it either. So I'm going to go, usually the queen is in the middle, so I'm going to go straight. You see I've made some space. I've moved my frames back. And now I'm going to lift this frame up. There we go. I'm going to aim for the middle and see if we can find the queen. So I'm going to do, I'm going to go, so I was going to turn around, but with the bees kind of hanging there, I'm going to look. So what do you guys see on your side?
Capped brood.
Do you see any little white squiggly things inside? Sometimes you can get the sun. So I'm seeing a lot of little tiny squiggly things. If I see white stuff down in the bottom, that means that's larvae. I'm going to flip it. That's why I stayed there over the hive. So I'm also looking here and I see some empty cells. There could be eggs in there. Sometimes they're hard to see. And now I'm looking, I see lots of cat brood. And there's the queen. All right, she's on that side that's facing you guys.
Great, clean, new wax. It was great for harvesting.
She's in there. Okay. All right. Somebody want to hold this frame of bees for me? I got one bee kind of caught in there. Oh, I don't want her to come out. Oh, do you guys hear that? Okay, listen. Hold on. Let me lift that one bee out. Get out bee. Okay, now she was just piping.
Ah, nice.
Okay, piping is when they make a high-pitched kind of like a. So see if you can hear it. We'll listen for a second.
What does that mean?
That means she's saying, "Hey, I'm here."
Okay.
And they usually do that when there's. Some people say they do it more when they're virgin queens, but it's kind of hit and miss. But they do that because they want to find the other queens, and then what they do is they are. Oh no! Turn the other way, bee. We're just very gently. I'm gonna mark her.
Nice
oh,
job.
Oh, actually, I marked the wrong side. I marked her tail. I
Wrong
marked her
end.
butt. You just don't want to mark her eyes. The key is being able to get her. You kind of are putting this over on the frame and getting her to walk inside without squishing her, and it does take some finesse. You don't want to squish her. You don't want to injure her at all. But you're putting this on her. Then you're moving this little slide to close the cage. And then you use the little plunger, it's foam, to very gently, as she's turned the right way, you want to get her so that she's up, so that her thorax is up right in the right spot in between the bars, so that you can gently mark her thorax. And then you pull this down so that she, so that you can then, the paint dries. These are kind of handy. I like them because then I don't have to handle the queen. I'm always afraid if I pick up the queen, I'm going to squish her. But a lot of people are really good at it. So always watch your hands, because if you squish a bee or you push a pressure on it, it releases its alarm. So just hold it just like that. There you go.
How long does it take for the paint to dry out?
A minute or two.
That's all larvae right there, right?
As long as she's in the shade room.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. There you go. So look at the framing. You see any
There's camp brood on my side.
deal.
There is on this side.
How about any little white squishy things?
Looks like larvae of all stages in there. There's some curls in there right around this area. You see them?
Oh yeah, I do see them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. This is like a little
You guys
larvae.
see it?
Yes.
So in the very bottom of the cells, all surrounding the cat brood, these are so new, these are probably only just a couple of days old, which is awesome because that means our queen is doing the job, right? If you see the little squigglies, guess what that means? You have a laying queen. That means if you don't find the queen, it's okay. That was perfect. Yes. And do you see how the wind magically helped that smoke? Yeah. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my lever. I'm going to go like this and this. And I'm see how I'm going very slowly and gently?
Yeah.
I'm going to move it a little towards me, give myself lots of space.
Yeah.
And then very slowly, it's not a race, I'm just going to lift it straight up without bumping it into anything.
By here.
Yes, by here. So you're going to put your fingers here. And then when you lift, do you see what my middle finger does? It automatically supports it underneath.
Okay.
And that's so just in case maybe I accidentally put my finger on a bee, I'm not going to drop it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
See some real
Okay, so I'm going to place that back in. Again, I'm going very slowly, and I'm very gently pushing it because I'm trying to give the bees time to get out of the way. But a lot of this I see in the upper corners. So what I'm talking about is right here and on either side. You can see the honey, but it's not capped.
Oh, that okay.
You see that? This honey?
Yeah.
See how it's glistening?
In the
Can
sun?
you see it?
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, if I shake it a little, sometimes you'll even see drips. I'm gonna release this in her.
You always just let her walk out?
I just let her walk out. Hopefully she just goes right onto a frame. There we go. Now she's going right down in there. And you can even see a little bit of her green dot. These guys I'm just gonna shake out. So now, I'm very gently gonna put this hive back together. Something like that. One of these frames. Now, if you look, so these have, if I pull this one out, okay, so they're still building, but see how there's brood on that side? You see in the middle there's brood, so I'm not going to move it away from the brood cluster. That's honey.
Honey? Okay, because
That's
it's glistening
honey.
all around it.
It's totally glistening. Look at that honey coming in. So if I wanted them to build out this empty frame more, in this case, I might move that one in here, but the reason I'm not going to is because there's brood. Yeah, so I'm going to leave this one where it is, and then I'm going to pop this one here. All right, so there was syrup, I think, behind you guys, a bottle of syrup. Grab this for us. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right. Tuck this in. All right, so who has our form again? What are the other questions on there for today? All right. There we go.